Yeah. I mean, I would say within 3 months, if you're working it diligently. And like Jake says, if you are calling quickly, but if you're like me and you're like, I just want to treat it as like another farm, not not a geo farm, but like another version of a farm that I'm incubating.
What's going on? We're welcoming people coming into the Zoom, and we're welcoming people on Facebook. My name is Nick Baldwin, co-founder of LabCoatAgents, and I have my very special guest, Jesse Zagorsky, super mega team owner at EXP. And today we're going to, Jesse, how are you, by the way?
I'm good. I'm also a LabCoatAgent moderator. I'm one
That's
of the,
right.
I'm one of the
That's
LCA
right.
of the LCA dedicated. Like I love the tribe you and Tristan have built. Truly, Nick, I'm happy to be here with you, man.
That's right. Jesse is one of our expert moderators. He keeps everyone in check. If you ever get booted out of the group, it's probably Jesse that did that. He kicks people out. He lays the ban hammer down. No, I'm
totally. If you're unhappy with LCA, direct your messages to me.
Right.
If there's things
Jesse
you love,
is our support. 1-800-LCA Jesse is the phone number for Jesse. No.
I love the topic name for today, by the way. The topic name I think is really perfect for two dudes who've been doing real estate a long time. Right?
What's the name of the webinar?
The exact name of this webinar is Maturing Your Database.
Yes.
Which is hilarious because you and I are probably two of the least mature people.
We're very immature, but we didn't want to call this immaturing your database. It would sound extremely weird, but we're going to talk about maturing your database. And Jesse is an avid user of a system called zBuyer. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how Jesse and his team nurture and mature their leads from zBuyer. But before we get into that, tell us what zBuyer is, Jesse.
zBuyer to me is motivated seller leads. Bottom line, right? They do some buyer leads, but candidly, I talked to them yesterday. Their bread and butter, they don't focus on the buyer side. They focus on seller leads. And I've been doing real estate for 18 years. I've bought leads from pretty much every source you could find that will sell you a lead. I've probably bought it, right? The dude in the corner is selling Rolexes and leads, whatever else he's selling. I'll try that too. Whatever. I'll try. You name it.
His jacket. He's got Rolexes and then leads right under it.
Yeah. And zBuyer is a source that I'm not paid by them. I don't get any money from them. I have continued using their leads, probably the longest lead source of any lead source I've paid for. I have not dropped it. I still work it. And
really?
Yeah, it really is one of my longest terms. They're one of my first lead sources I added. I have to check on my account 7, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a while.
So how did they, I mean, if you've kept with them for that long, they must be good. How do they generate those leads? What are the sources? Where do those leads find you?
Yeah. So on the seller side, they're motivated seller leads. And Jake just put in the chat box, by the way, Tristan's been using it with his team for 9 years. So they might even one up me in terms of length, but they generate sellers who are looking to get a cash offer on their property. It is not a standard, hey, tell me what my house is worth. I'm thinking of like maybe moving someday. These are people that are responding to an ad, a call to action, whether it's online, offline, whatever medium. They use a lot of campaigns to get these leads, but they say, hey, I want a cash offer my property. And whereas most sources like that, because there are a few other sources sell leads like this, they're $50, $100, $200 a click, $300 a click for this type of lead. These guys are like a tenth of that. Like really, it's pretty low cost for that type of lead.
Yeah. So let's go through like, okay, so they're responding to an ad, whether it be Googling, they see it on a website somewhere, maybe they see it on Facebook, and the ad is advertising, hey, do you want to sell your home? We have buyers wanting to buy houses for cash. Correct. Something along those lines.
That's exactly it. Yep.
And so they click through and you get a lead. What kind of information do you get on that person?
Name, email, phone number, address. Sometimes you get them checking some boxes in terms of their timeline to sell, but I ignore all that stuff because people click all sorts of boxes on websites without knowing anything. But I do know that no matter what they say when you connect with them, whether it's text or email, they had some intent to sell their house and they were curious about getting an offer. That's why they raised their hand and they submitted that lead request form. And so the skill set's developing. How do you get the truth and how do you get to really get them to open up? Because these are people typically that have a life event or something that happened that caused a level of motivation to want to fill out a form online to get an offer on their house.
and they're actively looking for someone or a way out of the property that they're in right now. So like, what would a conversation, I think a lot of agents, let me back up a little bit. A lot of agents have trouble with, what do you say, right? Like, what do you say to someone who you find from Facebook? Like, what do you say to some, I always find like Google leads tend to be a little bit of an easier conversation because they're actively looking for you by typing in, I want to sell my house in Anytown, USA. So like, what would a conversation with someone who, now, did they, before you answer that question, do they remember typically that like, oh, this was the ad that asked me if I wanted to sell my house cash? Do they remember that?
I'd say 50-50. And it
Okay.
also depends how quickly you call them. Just like any other lead source, there's a time sensitive component. And this is why we're going to get into the maturing the database side of this.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for being the first one to call and calling early. But then there's this gap where they start getting overwhelmed and they don't want to talk. And then like, I've been maturing my database 6 months, a year later, you get all these people that they have no memory of filling out this form. They don't remember at all, but they're not getting contacted by anyone else. And they still have the same life event that is causing them to sell a property. Nothing has changed in the last year. And now that's the beautiful time where they actually are ready to talk. So let's take down either fork. Let's say let's say they remember filling out the form, right? Because some people you call, they know exactly what they filled out and they're ready. Just like with a Facebook lead where you're going to come from service and just trying to be friendly and make a connection. In this particular case, I come as a problem solver, right? So I have an affirmation that I've been saying for years. I don't know if you ever heard me say this one, Nick. This is one of my favorites, but if you guys are taking notes, right, steal this one, right? I'm a creative, solution-oriented, problem-solving machine. I'm a creative, solution-oriented, problem-solving.
It sounds like, yeah, that's it. I'm a creative, problem-solving, solution-oriented machine.
Yeah. I used to say it over and over to myself. I program my brain, but this is the mindset I take to these calls because I go in wanting to break down their defenses, right? Trying to slide under the radar and just be of service. But my goal is to figure out what's going on in their world, to ask questions to get them to open up and see if I have a solution, whether it be having an investor write an offer on the property, listing the property, or staying there and refining, renting. Like I don't need them to list it. I'm going truly with no agenda. I want to go solve problems. It just turns out a lot of the time they do want to list. That is the solution. Or they do want an offer. They want to sell, right? Like one of my own rental properties I own, I purchased as a zBuyer lead.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. So we know that it definitely works.
Oh, it totally works. Yeah. And I bought it as steal. This is years ago before the market. Like this dude was just like, I want out. I said, I can list your property and sell it for way more. I'm going to have you sign a paperwork that says I can list it and sell it for way more. And you don't care. You're selling to me at a discount. He said, okay. He said, I just want out. Can close by the end of the week. I'm like, done, dude. Let's do it.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, yeah. I mean, if somebody wants to sell their house cash, they typically have a very high motivation factor. Like they don't want to deal with someone trying to get a mortgage, right? A lot of times cash offers, they don't really care about an inspection because it can be an investor, right? Maybe they'll do an inspection, but like just for their own knowledge.
Yep.
Right.
But sometimes it's just an educational issue. So the idea of maturing this database and why it so when you sign up for zBuyer, you may get a lead that lists in the first week. Cool. You get lucky. You might take a week or two and get lucky. But truly, I think the value of zBuyer, because the cost per lead is so low, is just creating a database for yourself of people that have, it's just like if you were to work expireds. This is a lot better than an expired because they haven't listed yet, right? They're not being hounded by other agents the same way as that, but it's the same way that they've acknowledged, hey, I'm interested in selling. And if you drip on them and build that relationship over time, which is why we have a lot of automations, and I can walk you through our team structure, how we treat zBuyer as a pond. But
yeah, let's do that.
6 months, a year later, we're definitely pulling listings out. But it's way more powerful if you let it mature over time.
Well, I love that you brought that up because that's the beauty of internet lead generation. A lot of people that come to you from the internet, they have a time frame, and it's usually a little bit longer than the agent hopes, right? But the beauty of it is filling up your database, filling up your pipeline, getting the right systems in place to I don't like the word drip, but I'm going to use it to drip on them.
You don't like the word drip? What word do you use?
I don't know. I just think drip is like, I hear someone
water
dripping
torture.
on me, and I'm like, Yeah, like I'm like, I need a towel or something. You know?
All right, let's coin a new term because you're one of the techiest guys I know, Nick. All right, so we're not going to use drip because I could see that. What
Nurture.
nurture,
Yeah.
like
To
LCA
nurture them.
like LCA nurture.
Right. Like LCAnurture.com.
There you go.
But this is a zBuyer webinar.
Right.
So yeah, I think that agents seem to, you know, they go to the internet to lead generate because they want that quick fix, and they think it's going to be something that's going to make them rich quick, and it's not typically. But a lot of people on the internet give you some sort of time frame, like, oh, I'm 12 months out, right? They give you this far off into the future time frame. Oh, I'm 12 months out, because they just don't have the information that they need. So they just assume they're further out than they are.
Or they don't trust you. Right?
That too, which is probably comes before what I said.
Well, no, but I think they're both, because it's why I like the word nurture so much better than drip. And I'm going to reprime my brain. I'm very
there you
coachable.
go.
I'm going to start using nurture because the nurture does two things. It establishes your credibility so that they feel comfortable with you. It establishes a relationship so they bring their guard down and will tell you what's really going on. But also you can nurture and give them that educational piece where they might realize they're not a year out. Maybe they're 3 years out, or maybe they're 6 weeks out. Right. But it comes in through that education over time.
Well, most agents won't nurture. They'll just forget, or just say, oh, forget it. Right. They'll just either drop the ball, or they'll just basically say, I don't have the systems to keep in touch with this person over this amount of time. Or they'll just decide that it's not worth it because this person is, 12 months out, and they don't consider this person a lead, which is ridiculous. Because I'll give you an example. Just over the weekend, I sent one simple email to 1,500 contacts in my database that I have generated over several years through Facebook. I sent this email that was basically like, hey, I'm just checking in, was curious, when you're looking to buy or sell, blah, blah, blah. It's like wondering what your time frame is. It was super, super simple, like maybe like 3 sentences. I got a dozen replies. Each reply gave me a time frame, each one. And then I had back and forths with about 6 or 7 of them. And the potential volume is around 6 million if they all bought.
Wow.
Or so.
From
And
one
so
email. From one email.
I'll send it to you. And now everyone wants the email. Great. Now everyone wants the email on this webinar, probably. Sammy says yes.
It's
LOL.
true. It's true. Yeah.
I have actually posted the email in, you know what? I'm going to post it in the chat. I'm going to get a copy of it.
Cool.
I have it pretty available here, but yeah, it's crazy. Like you'll get frustrated because you won't have a response for the first month or two. And then you'll notice if you kind of just send them information automated, whether it be a market snapshot every couple of weeks, and then you re-engage in a more human way after a couple months, you'll notice that they start to come back around because you've been sending them that information. You've been building that trust with them.
Yeah. I call that part poking the bear.
Yeah.
Right? Like you gotta warm them up. You got to build nurture, but then at some point, some will just automatically come to you no matter how good your systems are. But if you just poke the bear every so often and you're looking to open up a conversation, that's what we're always trying to do. The email you sent, it opened conversations, right? The text messages we do, the calls, whatever it might be, because my team these days, we're calling more. I mean, we're texting more than calling, but we still do pick up the phone and call. And when you get someone on the phone, it's the same thing as a text or an email. You just want to open a conversation and see what's going on in their world, but they won't do that if they don't trust you.
I just posted the email in the chat.
Oh, I love it.
And it says, hey, I'm just checking in and wanted to ask you a quick question since you've been looking at homes on my website. When are you looking to move? And then it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 being now, 2 within the next 3 months, 3 within the next 6 months, 4, 6 months to a year, 5 more than a year, 6 decided to stay where I am. And they typically respond either with a number or with an actual time frame.
That's short enough to be a textable message too. I
yes,
love that.
But with the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you might not want to use that. You might want to just kind of retweak it a little bit,
Agreed.
because it looks weird that you took the time to text that whole long thing out as opposed to an email. But yeah, you could come up with something.
But I do like it in an email because it gives them the ability to easily reply back and say, nope, staying where I'm at. Right.
Yeah.
But it also gives them you're removing the friction from the response to open that dialogue.
I send it out once a quarter. That way there's enough time in between each time I've sent it to the ones that don't respond. Right. So it doesn't seem like it's being regurgitated. And if it is, they'll just tell you, hey, you already sent me this and I didn't respond.
I love it. All right. So in the world, and by the way, I'm stealing that email. So thank you for posting.
No,
that.
Go for it.
All right. In the world of zBuyer, so we were talking to Jordan yesterday, who's actually going to be, he'll be on the next webinar with us. He unfortunately is very sick today. This is why he's not here.
Yeah.
But Jordan, who's with zBuyer, he was talking, and one of the biggest pain points they have at zBuyer is people who sign up and they're like, I didn't get a listing in my first week. This sucks. I'm out. And he was just being honest. And so I want to really address that, make sure you're hearing that. The reason I've kept it for so long, if you do diligently work them, you will get some sort of traction quickly. But the real value is allowing it to build this database and just having the expectation that you're going to build these relationships over time. And then it gets really good. It spits out listings on a consistent basis. Like it's just, I mean, you can work them the same with any other leads, but it's layering on this tech stack for if you want to get fancy and have, like you said, your automated CMAs, your HomeBot, whatever you're using for the values. Or it could literally be as simple, like my follow-up system for years with zBuyer was this, right? This legal pad of paper with names written on it, where I would just find someone who was good. I'm like, oh, this is a good one. And I would just write their name on the list. And every so often I just go back through that handwritten list to make sure I was touching base with those handful of people that had risen to the top and let the automation take care of the rest of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
You don't have to get that fancy. It's just looking for the hand raisers.
So let's talk about, like, when a lead comes in from zBuyer, you have a team. What's your team structure?
We throw all the zBuyer leads into a pond.
Okay. So you throw the zBuyer leads into a pond, and do your agents get notified when it goes into the pond, or they just get them when they lead generate?
The ones who want notifications get them, but transparently, most of my agents are not sitting around. I have a very small team these days, but they're not waiting around. Even when I had 21 agents, they weren't sitting around waiting to jump on zBuyer leads. Like, we've never treated it as a time sensitive source. When we do, it works really good. I've just struggled with having, because we have so many other sources and leads, that we've never really used it that way. Right.
Okay.
So I don't know. Jake's here. I know Jake's been in an ISA working these leads. So Jake, jump in the chat if you ever used it. Like when you saw a new lead pop in, you jump on it, because there is that really cool couple minute window that if you're the first one to call them and you get them to open up, it's great. But they will start getting calls from other agents. For sure. Because they're filling out multiple websites. And yeah, Jake says within 30 seconds he would call. Cool. So if you can have the structure to jump on it in 30 seconds, you're going to get good results to get them to open up, or at least have that skill set. We weren't even focused on that. We were focused on looking for the ones that as they would incubate, a lot of these people who have a need today, even though they have a need, they don't really want to sell.
They're not going to do anything right now.
Anything. So we would wait, like the ones that are aged 6 months to a year we found better.
So much better. Yeah.
And then there's no time sensitivity. Like, I've just never lived my life. If you guys watching this, if you like being attached to your phone, I mean, I used to buy leads that were very time sensitive for some very expensive sources. It's a stress inducing lifestyle that if it works for you, go for it. Yeah. I've done it for years.
Jake says that Jake is our behind the scenes guy with LabCoats, and he's also Tristan's ISA. I don't know if he's still Tristan's ISA, but he was for a very long time. And he's saying that in LA, it's very competitive. So if you're not calling, there's going to be 10 other agents that will. So that's a good point. It really, I think, depends where you are, right? Like if it's not a super highly competitive area, like if it's more rural Michigan, like where I am, you could probably wait a little bit. Jake says he manages the team of ISAs. Oh, he's moving up in the world. Look at that. Moving on up, Jake. So he's managing the team of ISAs. Big shot. I'm surprised he's talking to me. But, it definitely does. I think it's area based. Also, I have noticed that with a lot of leads, the way the lead is going to work could be very area based too, but you have to give each system at least how long you think 3 months, 6 months to really start to see any bites?
Yeah. I mean, I would say within 3 months, if you're working it diligently. And like Jake says, if you are calling quickly, but if you're like me and you're like, I just want to treat it as like another farm, not not a geo farm, but like another version of a farm that I'm incubating, give it 6 months, right? Buy your leads, pop them in there, let your systems run it. And as you get to the point where the hand raisers come out, you lean into those. I would say within 6 months, you should start seeing traction. If not 3, if you put a little more effort into it.
Yeah, you really do have to give this internet lead generation some time, because people who go to the internet, like Google or Facebook, listen, you have your different types of leads. You have your Facebook, you got your Google, and then your Zillow. Your Zillows are usually, if you get a serious one right now, leads. Your Google leads are usually, 6 months out, 9 months out. And then your Facebook leads are typically like, 12, 18 months. Not always, right, but typically.
On average.
And so, what's that?
On average.
Yeah, on average. And so you're paying accordingly. Like with Facebook, yeah, you can generate leads for $3 or $4. Then you're paying for someone who's maybe not ready to buy or sell for 18 months. With Google or zBuyer, you're paying, 12 to 18, maybe $20. Then you're looking at someone who's ready to buy maybe 6 to 9 months. And then with Zillow and Realtor.com, you'd be paying up to $1,000, but that person wants you to open the door and write a contract. So if that's the kind of business you want, like Jake was saying, you got to call right now. And Jesse, you were saying, listen, you've decided to like relinquish yourself of that type of right now, call me, open this door, or else, I won't be able to feed my kids if I don't pick up the phone. Like nobody wants that kind of stress. I love the in a little while leads because I enjoy the nurture. And I feel like it's kind of like a chase. Like I enjoy the nurture and I enjoy the response. Like when I got a dozen responses to that email, I'm like, yes, it's like a game to me. I'm like, sweet.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
And also because it's less competitive. No one's working those the same way. And so if you're good at follow-up and you're good at nurture, you're going to always have ability to generate income. I want to make sure we cover before we wrap up the webinar in a few minutes. I want to give a couple of really actionable items around skill set with this maturing your database and this lead source. So when you guys use zBuyer, there's a skill set issue that you want to develop, because if you're the type of person that here, let's role play real quick. Will you be a distressed seller that I'm calling?
I would love to.
Okay. So ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Nick, it's Jesse. Got your request for an offer on your house. You wanted a cash offer. I'm with eXp Realty. Just checking in to see, did you have any specific questions, or just looking for someone to write up an offer on your place?
Yeah, no, I mean, we were thinking about at some point, in the future, on like in a year or so, and maybe listing the house or whatever, cool. Moving. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's zero pressure for me. I want to make sure I get you whatever info you need. So when you are ready, right, you can make the best decision for your family. Tell me about your world. What's going on? We'll pause right here for this. I'm just going to pause it because he's already being nice. He's already getting into it.
Sorry, I'll be like, oh God, what do you want?
Well, here, this time I want you to say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Perfect.
Because literally, like, I don't know what you're talking about. Ready? So ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Nick, it's Jesse. Got your request for looking for a cash offer on your property. Are you Jesse with eXp Realty? Are you still looking to sell?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. What is this about?
Oh, okay. I'll talk to you later. Right. I wanted to show that example. Don't be that person. Because I swear to you, I've listened to agents on my team, because you're going to get that response. And and if that is your skill set, this is why you got to tweak it. If that's your skill set, you're like, these leads suck. Right. But if I would have asked, haven't you heard agents say that? Like,
okay, bye. Yeah.
Like, okay, bye. Right. But if you just asked 1 or 2 more questions, right? Let's go back to that role play. Let's just say, all right, hey, Nick, all good.
Yeah.
If you don't remember filling out the form, if you're not looking to sell your house and there's nothing going on in your world, there's no pressure from me. Is it possible one of your family members or somebody might have had a question about potentially having someone write an offer on your property?
I don't think so.
Okay. So you guys are good staying there forever?
Yeah. We're going to stay here for a while. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good, man. That's as far as I'd push it. Like, they're not ready to open up. I'm going to go and I'm just going to keep dripping on that person.
Yeah.
I would say enjoy your day.
Stats or whatever.
Yeah. I would just say enjoy your day, because after you ask 1 or 2 questions and you try to soften it, if they're still not opening up, they either genuinely didn't fill out the lead or are so untrusting of why someone's calling them. You ain't going to break it down in a single conversation.
And you know what? I always found it interesting. Like, agents will go, oh no, you got to handle that objection. Like the guy told you he doesn't remember.
Yeah.
Like, how much are you going to push that?
You're not. And if he doesn't want to talk about it, right? I said, hey, is it possible anybody else has information? No one has information. All right, cool. I respect that. Enjoy your day.
Yeah.
You know,
All right, cool.
I'm not going to ask for other referrals.
You're lying.
Right. Let him go. And then we'll drip on him over time and we'll see if we warm him back up. Go ahead. I just know the last thing I want to give to people, if you're writing down actionable tips, when you get face-to-face with this person, because your goal in the text or on the phone is to get a face-to-face appointment or a Zoom-based appointment, right? COVID friendly. Yes. But your goal is not to go list the house or to write an offer. Your goal is to get the opportunity to go deeper with them. When you get there, this is the pivot question, the most important question to ask. All right, Nick, so I understand your situation. Here's what's going on. We can absolutely have someone write a cash offer on your property. We have other options we can go through. Can I just get an opinion on something? Is it more important to you to sell your home for the highest possible price, or do you just want to sell it as quick as possible with the least amount of hassle? Which one's more important to you?
I mean, it would be nice to get more money, but I just kind of need to get out right now.
Okay. That tells me what path I'm going down, right? That's the route of like, let's have an investor write an offer. Let's get it, because I can still make a commission there, or maybe I'm an investor myself, whoever, your role is. Every agent watching this absolutely has to have an investor that they work with that could write a cash offer. If you if you don't have one, go find one.
Right. Just go look, just call your database.
Correct. But if he says to you, he wants to make the most amount of money, now we talk about the option of the traditional listing route. It's just setting up a listing. It's just a two-step to get to a listing presentation.
Yeah.
But it's all about what the client wants. Joe has a question here. Let's see. What about sending an introduction video before calling him? Go for it. Like,
yeah, why not?
Experiment, test it out, or after. I don't have an exact science, because some people you'll send a video to, they'll turn them off. They don't want to answer the phone. Some people send videos to, it'll work. This is why we set up campaigns. We let this stuff run and we just experiment with it. But I'd say try it out, Joe. It's absolutely.
Joe, I would suggest afterwards, no matter how the conversation went, if someone was kind of rude to you, just send a video. Hey, how you doing? It's Joe. Just wanted to put a face to a name because I tried calling you earlier. I might have interrupted something. I just wanted to say, if you ever want to talk about real estate and you're thinking of listing your house, just wanted to let you know I'm here to help you. No pressure at all. Right. So have that one, and then have the one that says, thank you so much for taking my call. Just wanted to put a face to a name. I'm really excited to meet you later in the week, or whatever it is. So have a couple different ones that you can send out.
100%.
So anyway, this has been good, Jesse. Appreciate it. Joe says, thank you. Jesse, I know you got to go and train your team.
Yeah. Do you want to keep rolling? Are we a good stopping point?
No, we're good. I think we're good. Right. Yeah. Go train your team.
Jake, will you drop into the chat box one more time the link? If people have liked what we're talking about for zBuyer and they're like, dude, I want to go check it out. LCA has negotiated a cool discount on it.
We have.
Click the link. We'll put it in with the show notes. It's zBuyer.com.
10% off zBuyer.com/LCA. 10% off. And so, if you're looking for really good seller leads, but you have to also be willing to nurture these leads and take time, hold their hand a little bit. Don't jump on and be like, I'll give it a try for a month, and see what happens. Don't do that, because with any system, even if I'm going to buy a car, it might take me 3 months. Whenever someone's thinking of listing or buying or doing some sort of big transaction, it's something that takes a little time. So don't jump in there and think that this is going to be something I'm just going to make money on immediately. It's still an internet lead that needs to know who you are and to understand and trust you.
Yep. It's just a really good source of seller leads. This is fun.
Yeah, Nick, man.
Good to see you. Natasha says, can you call me after this call? Facebook me. Send me. I'm jumping on another webinar literally right now. Zagorsky. So
it's exactly how it sounds.
Yeah. Send me a DM on Facebook, or, tag me in an LCA post, however you want to find me.
Yeah. But Jesse's not a zBuyer rep. If you're interested in zBuyer,
I don't work for zBuyer. I'm just a team leader.
You got to go to zBuyer.com/LCA if you want to talk to somebody about zBuyer.
Yep.
But if you want to talk to Jesse just to shoot the poop, message him on Facebook.
Happy to chat, or I'll even drop my cell number in the chat box. Just shoot me a text and let me know your name. I'm happy to, I'm not typing.
Oh, she says she can't find her zip code. Well, fill out the form on zBuyer and someone's going to reach out to you.
All right. I'll see you guys.
All right. Bye.